What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Spark to Fire. I'm your host, Landon Rhodes, and today I've got my good friend, Arne Giske. And Arne is an expert at something that, not a lot of people talk about. It's Facebook groups. And there's been some popularity around Facebook groups more, really recently, but there's people that are just kind of doing it and it's kind of like a hobby. And then there's people that make an actual career out of this and that have helped other people and unlock serious wealth potential for themselves. And my good friend Arne here is phenomenal at that. And he has several companies dedicated towards Facebook groups and helping people convert people from Facebook groups. So thank you for coming on the show today, my man.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in, share some of the story, share some of what's working.
That's great. And so the cool thing is Arne and I met at an event in Dallas, and I actually got an opportunity to see him speak, and it was incredible. He brought this workbook, and this workbook just helped you work through all of these different subjects on what should your page be named, what should the content be on the page, just all the things that it takes to run a successful Facebook group. And before we get into all of the meat that you're going to bring to us today in terms of Facebook groups, I'd love to just kind of unpack your story a little bit and tell us a little bit about how you got here today. And we can kind of go from there.
Definitely. Yeah, so I got into this whole internet marketing world same way a lot of us do. We hear there's some cool opportunities out there and we start Googling stuff. How do I make a website? How do I make a blog? How do you make money online? And that led me down to kind of my first rabbit hole of things I still use today. I remember in that very first month of research, I learned how to set up an email list. Well, guess what? We email almost every day. Learn how to, and get start engaging with people online. Guess what? We do that every day. We teach other people to do that. So that was kind of the very foundational period for me. And the very first site I launched, the goal was to kind of have it be kind of like Upwork, where people would come on, there'd be a forum, there'd be a community, and I could match up service providers with people who are hiring and take a little cut. Totally failed, completely fell on its face very quickly. The site was barely even functional, but it was fun and I learned a bunch. And that got me going on to my next step, which was instead of having a site for that, I would actually do that as a service for companies. So I would link up with, let's say, some agencies or freelancers and, figure out what they're offering, figure out the best people to do it. And then I would go out and find them some clients. I would go out and prospect and put deals together. And I remember my very first deal I found through somebody else's Facebook group. Somebody had posted about mobile apps and wanting to get one created and was really curious about this idea. And I started talking to them, walk them through some of the ideas, the steps, the this, the that, got them hooked up with one of my developer partners. And next thing I knew, it was a $15,000 contract to build out the first version of this app. So
Wow.
my first dollar online was $15,000 online.
That works.
And that blew my mind because I was like, all I did was talk to this guy and connect him with somebody else, make sure they got all set up, got this deal done, and I just got a few grand commission on that.
Yeah.
Like this is really cool. I should do more of this, you know? Um and kind of pursuing that model, which is a model I don't recommend now, by the way. But pursuing that model taught me a lot of the skills. It taught me what was going on in the industry. It taught me, how to speak the language, how to understand the clients, how to understand the agencies. And I eventually went on to build my own skills and start offering things like copywriting, funnel services, marketing, all that. And a couple of years later, I started really, really diving into the group stuff. And not even a couple of years, I was starting my own to try out, but it wasn't until a couple of years later that I actually started training other people. I had four totally failed groups, all died off for one reason or another, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. So
Yeah.
stick around. But the fifth one, that one grew to 80,000 members and helped us pull in seven figures. So the difference there was massive, massive, massive. And when that fifth one hit about 5,000 or so members, that's when I started seeing a lot of people ask me like, dude, how are you doing this?
Mhm.
Like what you're clearly doing something different than the rest of us right now. And I don't know what it is. And that's when I started putting out some training and some tips and my first offer around Facebook groups. And it just started blowing up from there. Cause that was in 2017, when I first started talking about it and training on it. And I had been doing it myself since 2015 or so.
Oh,
Um, so there was that real practice time before I started training it. And not many people were using groups around that time. So I was very grateful to be an early adopter.
and you had something that you said at the conference that I heard you speak at, where you specifically said when I failed with those four first Facebook groups, you basically said you have a couple of options here. You can either continue to just jump on the next thing, or you can hammer down and just really dive into one and give it everything you have. Do you remember what you said at that group? Because I'd love for you to share that again.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you run into any challenge in life. No matter what you do, if it's worth doing, then you got to fight your way through. There's going to be hard times, confusing times, concrete walls in front of your face that seems like you can't smash through. But guess what? If you look at that wall long enough and walk around it and, ask some people, you're going to find a sledgehammer and bust through that thing. Most people just turn around and walk away though. So when you really make that decision to lean into something, which is what I did on the fifth one, that's when the breakthroughs happen.
Yeah. And so you're how old at this time when this thing popped off? Because you had 80 some thousand members. How old were you then?
Yeah, I'm 27 now. So I think I was probably 23, something like that.
23 years old. And so what's that group grown to today?
Yeah, so now that one's at about 80,000 members.
80,000 members. Since you just getting started around 23 and now you're all the way up to 80,000. But what I love about that group, I'm also in it as well, is that it's not just full of, bot accounts. It's not just full of people that aren't
Mhm.
contributors. It's extremely active. Every single day. It's always popping off with content from you and a couple other moderators. So it's really cool to see that. And what do you think is the number one thing that people get wrong about Facebook groups?
Well, we always start with the vision and purpose. So when you do anything, doesn't matter if you're doing a group, a project, whatever it is, if you don't have clarity on what you want to do, where you want to take it, how it's going to help you, your business, your finance, your family, your impact, your fulfillment, all of these different things. Without that clarity, it's just a thing that starts, that's not enough. So
Yep.
you really got to think like, how is this going to be a long-term brand asset? How's this going to be something that I'm benefiting from, my business is benefiting from, the audience is benefiting from, that we can really leverage over time. And that's what helps you think a lot more long term instead of like, how do I start a group and get clients? It's like, how do I build this movement that's going to help me get clients for the next 10 years?
Right. And you've done just that. So I'd love to hear about what was it like to go from having four failed accounts or four failed groups and then to going to one that really took off. How did that help and change your life financially?
Oh, completely. It opened the door for something totally new because on that fifth one, it actually started out as a failure too. I started with a 7-day challenge and I spent maybe 6, 8 weeks like putting together guest speakers, resources, website, all these different things to launch that group with the challenge. We started off with like 150 people, and then day 8 comes around. I'm like, all right, time to make an offer. Let's get some money in. So I host this session, I make this offer, and one person buys it and then asks for a refund the next day.
Massive success.
Oh, man, I was crushed. I was like, I just spent like 2 months doing all this. Like, what the heck? Um, and I really kind of had to sit back and reflect right there. And that was once again my decision point. Do I want to drop this or do I want to lean in and keep figuring it out? So even just going into setting up that challenge in that group, I knew that this would be a different group. This wasn't going to be a failed one. This is going to be a big one. I was going to make it happen. So that mindset really helped carry me through and say, okay, well, that offer sucked. My rollout sucked, but doesn't mean my group sucks.
Right.
People were engaged, people were happy. It might have just been the wrong thing for them. So let's figure out what is the right thing for them. Let's figure out how to give them an experience in this group that they actually want to be a part of. And those were the questions that really led me to, getting up to that first couple thousand members, creating more of a culture, creating more of that connectivity with members. and really just making it a place where people enjoyed being every day.
Yeah. So you went from all of these failed accounts, moving forward to getting a little bit of success, getting knocked back down, and then you can continue to strive forward. And that's obviously a common thread of all the people that are on Spark to Fire is they're the make it happen people, right? They find a way to
Hmm.
get around that wall and or punch right through it. And you know, how did you deal with all of that? Like, what were some of the feelings you were having when you were? I mean, did you have a job at this time, or were you completely like, I'm all in, like I'm doing this thing and I'm going to be successful? Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah, I was all in at that point. Like I was just making the agency business work while I was, connecting service providers and everything, and just really hustling to make that happen.
Yeah. And so before you got into like the agency model, did you ever have any like part-time jobs or anything like that? Or did you ever drive Uber? I know that a lot of people like had side hustles that actually carried them to the point to where they are as to where they can make that leap. So I'm just kind of curious on your front. Did you have any other just like manual labor jobs or what did you do?
Yeah, so one of the funnest ones, it was actually another business I ran since I was 18. I did this like in college, was those three-wheeled bikes, those pedicabs. Do you know those?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I would do that out in Seattle, and I would drive tourists around. I would, work the baseball games and the football games and go to the waterfront and go downtown and, charge 20, 40, $50 to ride. And, as a 18, 19-year-old, you come home with $350 cash in your pocket, you're pretty much Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Like you're all in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you're getting a little bit of money here and there, understanding the hustle. You clearly have some work ethic built up at that point. And so, what were some of your first offers that you were giving to these groups, and how big were the groups when you were first putting these offers out there?
Yeah, so at first I wasn't really making any direct offers to the group. Like that whole first period before I hit about 5,000 members, that was when I was kind of doing more of the deal brokering. So it wasn't like, "Hey, I'm the guru in X, Y, and Z. You should learn from me here." It was a lot more a group about facilitating the community. So it wasn't about Arnie, it was about the people. And I also had a podcast where I would interview a lot of the group members and things like that, so it was really just a space for everybody to come and connect. And it wasn't, "Hey, look at me. I know everything." So I think that was actually one of the best things for me to do there too, because I didn't make the community about me. I made it about them.
Right.
Um, and what I did there is through building the relationships and through having that visibility, and also, the connections of the people that I was interviewing and being interviewed by, they're like, "So what do you do? What's your business?" I was like, "Oh, I do blah blah blah." So I would just naturally attract clients that way. They're like, "Oh yeah, cool. I need a new website. You got a guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a guy. Let's go."
Mhm.
Um, so that worked out really well. For having a smaller business, a few grand a month, decent money, nothing crazy, but making it happen. And then it wasn't until the next year when I hit that 5,000 or so member mark, when it was really picking up so much. And that's when I started to see a lot more interest in like, "Arnie, how are you running the group like this? What are you doing differently? Because I can't tell from the outside." And that's when I put out a very simple post. It's the same one I asked everybody to do at the event, just saying, "Hey, if I put out a free training on how I grew my group to over 5,000 members, would you check it out?" And it got like over 200 comments. And I was like, "Oh, yes. All
Bingo.
right. They want this." And I knew that gave me legs to stand on for like, "Hey, I think I can launch a product out of this. Like, this is not even a service. Like, people want to know how I did this." And that I really had to fight through a lot of, imposter syndrome of, "Oh, what if they don't like it? What if it doesn't work for them too? What if they can't replicate it? Are people going to think I'm just one of those guru dudes asking for their credit card?" And so I ended up taking my sweet time, but when I finally did launch the thing, I launched it with a super valuable group growth cheat sheet for free, and then it had an immediate upsell to a $37 engagement course. And little did I know that that little $37 course would turn into a program, that now sells for a lot more. and has had like nearly 1,000 clients through it
Oh
over the
my
years,
gosh.
and has generated dang near $1 million just off that one program. So it's crazy that that one action, that one post, that one program, like, made such an impact. So you never know.
And that's I want to take a second to highlight that. That's the big thing is, when you're hitting failure after failure after failure, you're constantly sparking ideas here and there. I wonder if this will work. I wonder if that'll work. A lot of people just kind of run into that last wall and they just quit, 3 feet from gold, so to speak. And I think it's really cool that you're able to just push through that and see like a tiny little light at the end of the tunnel. And all of a sudden, boom, that tunnel opened up, 200 comments on that post. And boom, you have interest. And that's, I mean, genuine interest out of 5,000 people. That is an incredible number to get 200 comments on something of people interested. And when you brought your worksheets and everything to that conference that I was at, I was just like, okay, this guy clearly understands this. And so I want to talk a little bit about more of your credentials and what you've actually done for people, because that one little product for $37 or what once one sold for $37 has made you probably over $1 million now. That's not the only thing you're doing. And that's why you're a really impressive guy. And I'd love to just give you an opportunity, like brag away for a second, just share with what the audience, what you've done.
Yeah, for sure. And, want to kick that off with what my clients have done, because that lights me up even more. I made good money, had these cool accomplishments. You guys don't want to hear that. You guys want to hear what's in it for you. So
Yeah.
the stat that I'm most proud of that ties directly in with our mission, is our clients have grown by over 10 million group members combined. And
10
and that's
million.
over 10 million. And that's saved them over $25 million in paid ads. Because it's that organic growth. So what that represents to me even more is the ripple effect of our work. And that's what lights me up most about what I do, is if I know I can help one person step up as a leader, and they're going to go out and take their mission out, their message out, their business out, and help more people, it's amplified. So if I can help, my 4,000 plus clients, but then they go out and help 10 million people, that's awesome. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for that. So that's what I really love about the work that I get to do with working with other leaders, is they naturally want to step up and help people and make an impact and build a business and be smart about it and have fun. So that's what really lights me up.
10 million people have gone and joined these groups, guys. Think about that for a second. That is an incredible statistic. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think it gives people a little bit of context to really what you've been able to do for the people that don't know your name yet. And I think one of the most important things that someone needs to learn when they come into this game, whether it's paid ads, whether it's, writing social for somebody or building a group, is copywriting. And I would just love to hear any advice that you have when it comes to copywriting, because I've actually been diving into it a lot myself personally, and just love to hear what you'd have to say about that, Arnie.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the foundation of all this stuff. Attracting the right people to your group, getting the right headlines, content, hooks, emails, sales pages, sales calls, whatever it is. It's all based on that messaging. So really, really working on that as one of the key pieces. And it's actually like pretty much step number 3 when working with clients. First, bring them on, get them all set up with their logins, their orientation, their everything like that. And then number 2, we help them work on, some focus and mindset, prepare them to get into action. Number 3 is messaging. Like, before we do anything with your group, anything with your marketing, anything else, we got to know, who do you want in your business and what lights them up? What's going to get them clicking, buying, engaging, all that. So we start with the messaging pretty early on.
And when you're starting with that messaging, who are some of the people that taught you how to write copy?
So the process I used is very similar to the whole ask method by Ryan Levesque. Where it's very simple. It goes through, some standard research questions. What are your biggest challenges, frustrations, X, Y, and Z? And you basically engage with your audience to get them to fill out this survey. And then as you start building out your offers and your copy, you do a process I call audience co-creation. And that basically means every single step of the way as you're building out an offer, you're validating it with them. So if you're like, hey guys, I'm coming up with this new free guide, which title do you like most? And you'll pull some headlines from the research and you'll get them to vote. And they're like, okay, cool. This one clearly wins. All right, hey guys, I'm working on the bonuses for this program. Which one do you want most? This, and that. And then by the time you actually launch the thing, you already have, dozens, if not hundreds or even thousands of people that have helped you create the messaging for it and dial it in. So it's a really cool way to just step by step, make sure that whatever you're building, your audience wants it. And I've also had that on the flip side where so we have a software company too. And I got this idea one time for a different software and I was so pumped up. It was going to be like a little software tool that gives you content ideas and does this and does that. And I was so pumped up about it. And so I went and I posted in my client group for our current software. I was like, guys, I'm so excited. I got this idea. I think you're going to love it. Here's what it does. What do you think? And then all of the feedback was like, nah, wouldn't use it. I don't like it. Nope, not for me. And I was like, okay,
Point
cool.
taken.
All right, we're not going to make that one then.
Yeah, point taken, right? So utilizing your group to actually do the research for you and make them a part of the case study, really. I think that's
100%.
brilliant. Just asking them and people talk about qualitative feedback and getting surveys, stuff like that, but it's all about, is it really informing decisions that you make? And it sounds like you're really using your groups. And I've even seen some of your posts inside of the group that I'm in that you lead. And I have seen some questions in there and they're really great. And I think you've been posting a lot more memes lately. I thought that was awesome too. I mean, entrepreneur memes, small business memes are so hot right now and really get a ton of engagement. And so what would you rank in importance then, like how do you judge a group in terms of like how successful it is? Obviously there's engagement, there's likes, comments, shares. Can't really share out of a group if it's private, but just kind of curious on that front.
Yeah, when I first go in to look at groups, I have a whole system for that for like auditing it. But some of the key things is seeing like, all right, how many posts are there every day? Is it only the admin posting? Is the admin posting? Like what kind of activity is happening? Is it, spammy stuff? Is it meaningful engagement? Are the topics, relevant? Is the group relevant? Um, are there, leads being generated? Are they doing comment posts? Like where's the substance? Where's the stories? Where's the community at? And so I just kind of look for some of those things. And basically whatever is missing, it's like, okay, cool. Like I've seen like some of the most common ones I see is even with some of my smartest friends that are even seven-figure marketers, is they'll go in their groups, but there's no mention of their credibility, their authority, their accomplishments. I'm like, dude, if I didn't know you, you would look like every other Joe Schmo marketer right now. You're asking the same engagement questions, you got all these different things, but like, dude, I know you are a like killer marketer, business owner, all this stuff. And that's not clear from the group. So you got to like really, really communicate what's different about you, your business, your brand, your values, and make
Mhm.
that front and center in the group.
I love that. And is that a video from the admin saying, "Hey, and I'll just use the group that we're going to be starting here for like my kind of entrepreneurial community that I want to create." And just having people similar to kind of the spark to fire mentality, people that are constantly looking for something to achieve, they're constantly looking for improvement. Would you basically like write down all of the things that the people are and all the things that the people are not? Is that a good way to go about that?
Yeah, and like think about like the group description in your welcome video, the
Mhm.
same way you'd think about an about page on your website. Like,
Yep.
hey, here's what we stand for, here's what we're about. Here's, what you can expect, a little bit about me, a little bit about our clients, all that. So people can quickly get a glance like, oh yeah, I resonate with that. This group is for me.
Got it. Got it. And so starting off, you've got 0 members in your group. You're like, okay, I'm motivated. I listen to Spark to Fire with Arnie. I'm going to go start a Facebook group. What's the first thing that people should do to take action? And then I'd love for you to kind of like walk through some basic best practices, all the way from naming the group, description, the about stuff you talked about, cadence, all that stuff. I know you're an expert in this, so I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, first one is so simple. Tell people you just started a group.
Mhm.
Hey, I just started a group. It's about blah blah blah. Do you want an invite? That's all you got to do. And it's exciting. It's like, oh, new group. Yeah, all my friends started a new group. Yeah, I'll go join. I'll go support them. Um, simple. So start there. And then try out other angles to advertise it. Like, hey, I just dropped this interview with Arne on Facebook groups in our new group. If you want to check it out, so you can build up your group, make sure you come join ours.
I will be doing
So
that, by the way.
exactly. There you go.
I've got the expert here. I'm absolutely going to utilize it. So that's smart. So having
Yep.
a great offer to get into the group, really, just something to
Yeah.
drive them.
Lots of bait. So that's also cool, especially when you're doing a show like this. If you're doing it weekly or something, we're doing an interview with Joe on Friday. If you want to come, make sure you're part of our group. Who wants an invite?
Yeah, brilliant. And then would you recommend going public, or would you recommend going private group or private but visible? How, because that's one of the first questions you get asked on creating a Facebook group. Just curious what you would go on that front.
Yeah, we like the private but visible, so people can find it, but also so they have to click and join it to see what's inside.
Yep. And when you're creating the questions inside of the like the questionnaire for the members as they're getting access, what are some of the things that you would ask them? Just general questions to get them in.
Yeah. First ones you want to ask is either research based or qualifiers. So like the same stuff I was talking about for the copy and those surveys, hey, what's your biggest question about Facebook groups? Or if you're doing qualifiers, you could say something like, hey, what's your current, revenue from your Facebook group right now and where do you want it? So you can also ask for their emails as well. Hey, do you want a free guide on Facebook groups? Leave your email and I'll send it to you.
Mm,
And that's where our software comes in. Is normally after you press approve, all that data disappears. But when you use our software group funnels, I'll make sure you got an affiliate link for your people too.
nice.
Um, then you press approve and it not only saves that data, but it links it up with your email system. So
Amazing.
you press approve, you have all that data, and now that person lands on your email list and gets a welcome email. So it's a really, really cool way to grow your list while you're growing your group for free.
That's so smart. Guys, I want to take a
Yeah.
second to like really make sure you heard and understood that. So with group funnels, your guys' software, I'm going to give you a really good plug here, is that software actually takes that data. And if you've ever had a private Facebook group, once they come in, you have all these different people coming in and you could just click accept, accept, accept. And then if they have the questions, the data is actually below the accept button. But what their software does is it actually takes that information and makes it useful and then stores it instead of just deleting it and putting it into, thin air. And that is such a simple application, but it's so important if you actually want
Mhm.
to drive some sort of revenue out of this. And I just think that that's brilliant. So after that point, you're obviously setting up some email sequences. We'll get into that, but let's go back into this here in terms of getting the group started. So you're going to create these qualifying questions. What happens next?
Mhm. Yeah. So after they come in, you want to make sure you get them with the welcome post. Hey, welcome to the group. Same kind of stuff that you put in the description, welcome video. Hey, here's what we're about. Here's what we're not about. So they can kind of land and be like, oh, cool. Yeah, this group is for me.
Yeah. Okay. And so you've got your welcome video. They feel at home. And when you're just getting started, you have no content. And so, would you go about just having, you said a welcome video. So, is that something where you try and get it well produced? Would you just do an iPhone straight to the face, just like on FaceTime, something like that? Or how would you go about creating that video?
Yeah, I mean, you can get as fancy as you want, but don't let it hold you up if you don't have a fancy setup,
Mhm.
Roll it out, say hi.
Hey,
Face
guys.
One thing I love about Facebook is it's so informal. They don't expect highly produced anything, you know? Like you can go live, like walking around your house, camera spinning around, your dog barking in the back, and people are like, cool, you know?
Totally.
Uh post post, you can post with bad grammar, you know. It's so informal. And I know that helps me a lot because if I get ideas or if I'm inspired, I just want to like press that go live button and share it, or write up a post and share it. And then I might check it out later, might, edit the post later, or redo the video if I want to put it somewhere more polished. But if I just want to share some info out there and help people out, I can just do it really quickly.
Yeah. And I love that aspect of putting that content direct into a group because those are what you would consider your people. And Facebook, for better or for worse, has become this place where you have fringe friends and you have your real friends, and they're all kind of all in the same place. And you don't know which one's going to see it. But
Yep.
inside of a group, you have a more controlled audience of what you would assume is your closer friends, what you would assume is someone that really shares your likes and interests. So that makes a ton of sense. You can go back and edit the video later. And so when you're putting your welcome video on, obviously that's going to be a pin to the top of the page, I'm assuming, right, Arnie?
Yep.
So they've got that video, they watch it, they start engaging with the group. What are your tips to continue engaging the audience?
Yeah. So the first biggest one is keep asking them what they want. Same idea as the surveys. Do polls often. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a training on A, B, or C this week. What do you want? They're like, C. Okay, cool. C it is. See you on Friday.
Yeah.
Um, so just keep asking, keep delivering, and really listening, especially when you have a smaller group. People are like, "Oh, Arnie, I only got 100 people in my group. Like, it's not that engaged." Blah blah blah. I'm like, you got 100 people? That's incredible. That means you have the opportunity to literally individually connect with every single person. Like, those are going to be your super fans. Like, imagine that 2 years later, they'll be, "Oh yeah, I was part of the first 100 people in Arnie's group, and now it's at this size and blah blah blah." Um, those people are going to be the ones that stick with you, engage, show up, support you, invite friends, refer people. Like treat those first few people especially great and really connect with them.
That's great advice. And so say you have 100 people, like you said at the beginning, or even 10 people. To grow the group, would it make sense to do some sort of a giveaway at the beginning and say, "Hey guys, we're giving away this t-shirt, we're giving away this $10 Amazon gift card, whatever it is. All you have to do is invite 3 friends." Have you ever grown your groups that way, or would you recommend that?
I don't like to. The biggest reason why is if I was like, hey, I'm gonna buy everybody an iPhone if you invite 10 people. Like, I'm gonna get a giant group full of the most random people that don't actually want to be there.
Yeah.
Um, what we really want to focus on is that attraction marketing. Like, I don't even use the invite to group button. I want people to willingly click on it or comment and want an invite. It's a big difference in their experience and coming on. Because if I just went through my list and invited all my friends, yeah, I would have a group. But imagine the experience of somebody on the flip side. If they see a post from me saying, hey, I got this awesome interview coming up, it's gonna be this Friday, it's gonna be so cool, I'd love for you to be there. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's exciting, that's just what I want. How engaged is that person going to be versus somebody who got invited by their friend, you know? So it immediately ups the quality of the people in there. And it's actually worth growing a little slower at first when you're really attracting the right ones.
So how do you balance that growing slow, but yet obviously wanting, as much growth as humanly possible? Like how do you balance that? And what would be your advice to someone who does want to grow rather quickly, but they don't want to do something that would, mess with the group's integrity or drop the interest?
Pay for ads.
Got it.
Like,
Yeah.
if you really want to get more high quality targeted people, of course you want to use your lists first, and invite them from your other social channels, email lists, your podcast, whatever it is, so you can get those most relevant, hottest people. But if you really want to, speed it up, and hit a colder audience too, you got to throw some money behind it. The cool part is when you get up to about 1,000 members, that's when Facebook starts sending you more traffic organically, as long as the group is engaged.
Mhm.
So we call that like the tipping point. That's like one of our specialties, is getting people up to that tipping point as quickly as possible. Because once you hit 1,000, Facebook will just start sending you people, and that's where a lot of the growth kicks in.
That's huge. So,
Mhm.
guys, if and I totally agree with Arnie here. You don't want to compromise the group's integrity because then you're going to start losing the people you wanted in the first place. when you've got people that are, not in the right place, they're clearly not fitting the community. And one other question I had when I was doing this too would be, so say it's an entrepreneurial community, which is obviously what I would like to create just on the nature of this podcast and what I do every day. Would it make sense to allow people who are not entrepreneurs into the community, or because there's people that are aspiring? I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that, on how to approach that part.
Yeah, depends on your goals. So, like for example, my bigger group that's like 80K, it's a lot more loose on, who we let in, and it's always been like that. Um, but I have a smaller group that's about 3,500 people, and it's a lot tighter. We decline about 70%. For a time, we're even declining people who were uh aspiring. Like we asked them, hey, how much are your, courses and coaching business making a month? And if they say zero, they don't get in.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason we do that is the types of questions and the types of problems that somebody with absolute zero brings to the group is going to be so different. They're going to be like, how do I set up an LLC? And everybody else is already like out there
I
making money and
I
like has
roll.
like complex problems like how do I hire a team and do this and do that. So really having like an understanding of like, do you want to be a more inclusive community that can be bigger and more broad, or be more exclusive and have a very specific type of person that you want in there?
Yeah, that's solid advice, and I was definitely thinking about those things as I was making my group. And um, so you've got the content, or you've got the page all set up right now. You've got the kind of mission statement or the about us. It's all built out. You've got your messaging. So you're about to start creating content. You said polls are a great way to understand what people are interested in. How else would you consistently engage the group and grow the group?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot about doing those foundations over and over again. Like, all right, what do you guys need? What do you want? Okay, I'll deliver it. All right, let's keep talking about what's going on inside of the group, outside of the group, and just having that consistency. Like that's one of our company values too. Is be consistent. Because it's not rocket science. You just got to stick with it.
Mhm. And are you posting once a day, once a week? What's the cadence of which you're trying to post as an admin in your groups?
Um, Minimum once a day. We usually do multiple posts a day, especially because we have a lot of different groups and a lot of different content, and also people on my team helping me manage all that content going out. So it's easier when we're like, republishing stuff we've already posted, or we have some theme days and just a lot more going out. But if it's just a solo person, if they don't have a social media manager, at least go for once a day. The easiest content strategy you could do, the most baseline, is ask a question every single day. That's
I
all you
love
got to
that.
do.
Love it.
Yeah. So start with that and then add in more stuff like stories and tips and videos and all that. But you can create, you know, 2 weeks worth of questions in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, just
Yeah.
you literally look at the news, Google Trends, Elon Musk tweeted about Bitcoin or bought 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. What do you guys think? Let the
Yep.
comments fly, right? And
Exactly.
and and that's I've seen. It's so funny that you talk about that now, and then we all, everybody listening to this podcast is like, oh my gosh, it's so easy. Like we've all seen that group. Everyone, and sometimes I'll do that on my Instagram stories, get people to engage that way. But groups are just Facebook groups specifically are just so native to that. It's
Yeah.
Q&A all day long. Um,
Totally.
and how much, video content. So say I have a podcast and I obviously want to promote my podcast through that group. How much would you recommend I'm pushing that podcast in the group versus, because obviously I want to drive traffic to it, but I don't want to like berate people with just that content. So do you have an idea of what you recommend there?
Yeah, I mean, depends on how often you publish the podcast, but we usually post once or twice a week about our podcast, our YouTube, stuff like that.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. I have basically a weekly show. We're trying to get back on a weekly cadence. So that works really well. And we'll
Nice.
definitely be doing that. So what other kind of big pieces of advice would you give to someone that's getting started today? The stuff that you didn't know in the very beginning, but you're just like, man, if I would have known that, my life would have been so much easier.
Yeah, I think the biggest shift I made between the first four failed and the fifth one being successful was my attitude about why it's there and how I'm showing up to it. Because the first four, I was always like, what's in it for me? What do I get out of it? How do I get clients here? How am I going to launch this product? How do I keep this engaged, get more traffic, blah, blah, blah. All the what's in it for me. But the fifth one was really like, how can I create a community that they're going to be want to be a part of every single day? Like, what does that actually look like? How do I give them that experience that they're going to keep coming back for? And that is the right question. You know, when you explore that a lot more, you're going to create a place that's a whole lot more focused on the people than just your business. So that's really where it kicks up a notch and has more of that community vibe, more other people posting, more interconnection, more engagement, more growth, all that. And then guess what? Of course, that helps your business in the long run.
Yeah, that's great advice. You guys should go back 15 or 30 seconds and re-listen to that piece again because that is phenomenal advice. And what I'm going to kind of hit you with some rapid fire questions here. So as
Go
we
for
kind
it.
of hit the towards the end of this podcast, but um, what are the biggest misconceptions? What's the biggest misconception you had about entrepreneurship when you first got started? What did you used
Um,
to believe that you no longer believe?
I think that there's such thing as passive income is one of them. Because especially when you get started, you can see all these, oh, make this much money with a e-com store, make this much money with courses, blah blah blah, passive income, set up your store, live on the beach, do your thing, blah blah blah. No, it's all work. It doesn't matter what model you use, it's all work to get it going, keep it running. Yes, like we make sales every day for some of our products, and I don't have to talk to somebody, but how much management goes into the systems, the people, the marketing, the this, the that. It's not passive. We just get paid when I'm asleep.
That is a phenomenally good point because the 4-hour work week came out and everyone's perception was, okay, well, yeah, like you said, I can live on a beach, kick my feet up, and I'll just be the owner of a company. Nothing about it is passive. And I'm so glad you said that because you are in one of those industries where people that approach your industry, whether it's group funnels, click funnels, traffic and funnels, like all of those great companies that have created phenomenal empire businesses, they attract a lot of the people that believe that to be true that, "Oh,
Mhm.
man, I'm just gonna kick my feet up on the beach, and this is gonna be, a home run for the rest of my life," and it's just simply not the case.
Yep.
Because even the best ads eventually stop working. Eventually, the copy doesn't work as well as it used to. And so, like, I really appreciate that advice, and I'm glad that you said that coming from your perspective. Who were some of your biggest mentors when you first got into the advertising and the marketing world?
Yeah, I'd say the first biggest one was Dan Henry. I learned a ton from him. I went through all of his programs. And he was the first one to really get through to me of how marketing, how funnels, how direct response copywriting works. And then I was able to apply that in a whole lot of different areas. So everything from the groups to the rest of the marketing ecosystem, um, product launches, all that.
So I heard from another co-speaker up at the panel when you guys were talking. Ashton Shanks talked about how he practiced copywriting, and I thought this was brilliant. And so he would go through Gary Halbert's old sales letters, which is and he would rewrite all of those sales letters handwritten every day for 15 minutes. And I think he said he did it for like 6 months straight just
Nice.
because he wanted to start thinking like a genius copywriter. And I thought that was so smart. So I'm going to be doing that myself. Do you have any other great tips for writing copy outside of simply doing it? I think that's the obvious one. Like, yes, you have to write the posts. But what else would be a good tip for anybody that wants to get better at copywriting?
Yeah, like you said, I like both of those a lot. Of rewriting things, and of course, daily practice of making posts. Even if you're not trying to get somebody to buy something, if you want to get somebody to like, comment, share, whatever it is, you practice that format. You get stuff out there. Another one I like around uh, copy especially is like really, really just keeping an eye out for good copy, good ads, and then just taking a second to sit back and go, that was a good ad. Why did that work? Why did I
That got
like
me.
that?
That got me.
Why is my credit card out right now? What just happened?
Yeah, exactly. Why did that work so well?
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And there's I love that advice too. Anything that just really like makes you step back and be like, whoa, that worked.
Yeah.
I do that with design. I
Like,
do that
oh,
with
I'm in the
videos.
funnel.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm here. Yeah, the walls are around me. But that's solid advice. And what about when it comes to courses, materials, that sort of stuff? Do you personally? I believe you have a course as well. Do you have one that's paid and unpaid, Arnie?
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff. So we have the main one we focus on for like more of the self study and support is a membership. It's called Group Masters, and that's really teaching people like the whole A to Z system of what to do at all of these stages. We cover the main 5 areas: start, grow, engage, monetize, and optimize, and just take people through wherever they're at and help them tighten the screws up. Really just get the group going how they want it to go. We also have tons of free content out on the Community and Conversions podcast and the Facebook group, all that. So much to dig into.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about this stuff, they want to get better at, building their group, building their funnel out of a group and just finding better ways to get just more out of groups. Where would you send them specifically today to learn more about that?
Yeah, I'd say best place to start is definitely to our book, which is 7 Steps to Monetize a Group. And even if you don't have a group going yet, it really helps you understand how the pieces fit together. Where do these people come from? How are we attracting them? What do we have to do? It really covers them a lot more of that research process I talked about earlier. And then of course, how do we bring them on as clients? So that one's over at groupsforprofit.com/ebook. And I'm sure we'll stick that in the notes as well.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. What other did you have any other courses or any other books, podcasts, YouTube videos that really changed your life?
Um, I think it's hard to say any specifics. But I'm just so grateful to have so many different mentors, like people in all kinds of areas, all kinds of skills, that I've invested like multi 6 figures in coaches and programs and everything over the years. So I think that would be my biggest tip for people is, you know, throw down. If you wanna step up, if you want to play at a different level, invest, show up, do the work, um, take your time, research these people, make sure they're legit, that they're actually doing what you want to do. Get some referrals to the right people and show up because people like me, people like a lot of my mentors is they go out and they do it and then they start documenting it and creating these systems for other people. And that shortcuts you by years. Like if I had the whole group masters program for me when I started group number 1, I would probably still be on group number 1 instead of having 4 failed ones.
Right. Right. Well, I'm definitely going to be getting a copy of that book and make sure that I'm going to get a part of it because I, I've I've watched my friends start a couple groups, even locally here, and just watching what they've been able to do. I'm engaging with that content, and just like you
Yeah.
said, you're like, oh, I'm in the funnel, right? You don't even realize it, but you really do enjoy doing it. And then before you know it, I hop on a podcast with you, and hopefully, I'm your next client. And the cool thing with that is that I don't feel like slighted or anything along those lines. I don't feel like you took something from me. I feel like you're about to add massive value to my life. And then hopefully someday I
Mhm.
can turn around and we can do business together in some way, shape, or form. And that's the mindset that people need to go in when they're investing in these programs. Don't look at it as like, oh man, I'm just giving another online marketer my money. It's like, no, do the research so you don't have to have that gut feeling. Do the
Yep.
research so you can say, I'm investing in myself early, which is what Robert Kiyosaki talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Invest in yourself early so that you can live with that knowledge for the next decades to come. Because waiting till the time when you're like, oh, maybe someday when I have enough money, I'll buy that course. You literally could have bought that course, maybe, scrounge the chains together, drive Uber, whatever you have to do to kind of get that money invest in yourself because it's just always worth it. I mean, I remember when I first started off, I invested on a $997 social media mastery course. I directly applied that to my business, and it still, like, we're using some of those practices, and that was a couple years ago, the
Mhm.
baseline practices from it. I'm still like thinking that way today. And obviously we're evolving certain parts of it, but it's just so crucial to invest in yourself, guys. So I hope that you take that seriously, because if somebody as successful as Arnie here invested multiple six figures into himself. And you're what, how old are you now?
27.
You're 27 years old. So you're younger than I am, and you're investing multiple six figures in yourself. That should be, the writing on the wall for a lot of people that are listening to this show. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and what we like to do is kind of wrap up with kind of, parting advice that you'd have to anybody in any entrepreneurial venture as they kind of get going. They want to turn their spark into a fire, if you will. They want to kind of get going to that next phase of their life where they can be an owner and they can really take control of their life. What advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, so I think the two biggest things are our number one company value that we live every day is give value first. So wherever you go, if you're going to your friend's Super Bowl party, be the one who shows up with a whole bunch of food and a good case of beer, whatever it is. If you're the one going out to the networking event, you be the first one to show up and give referrals and introduce your friends and make some connections, the more you can make other people happy, the more you get what you want. I'm sure you
Mhm.
guys have heard that
Say that
quote,
again
that
for the people in the
spin-off.
back. Say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, the more that you help other people, the more that you get what you want too. So just knowing that there's that consistent karma that you got going out, that you're planting seeds everywhere of like, oh, I see somebody I can help. Let me go help them real quick. Zero expectations, but also knowing that guess what? That helping people, those people are very likely to help you when you need it too. So build that up, give value first, and be smart about it too. Be smart about who you're giving value to, be aware of that, and really, really put the time in to help people who are way ahead of you too. Like I would still to this day work for free for certain people. Like
Same.
just for that connection, just for that learning, just for that giving value first. Like anybody knows Elon Musk or something like that, I will build him a group for free. I will pay him to build him a group. Um, there's just a lot of opportunities out there that are worth so much more than money. So be aware of those things and lean in, pursue it, play the long game.
Be aware of the things that are worth more than money when you're looking to provide value. That is such a
Yep.
phenomenal takeaway. No one's ever said that on this podcast, but that's crucial. The things that you can find, just there's the adage that like 5 minutes with the right person is better than 5 years with the wrong ones. In terms
Totally.
of your personal growth, and I so believe that, and I feel like this has been a huge benefit from my time here. So I really appreciate you just like dropping bombs on us left and right on Facebook groups and mindset. I just think I think you got a seriously promising career ahead of you. I'm so excited to kind of stay connected and watch each other grow.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. It was fun.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of Spark to Fire. I know this one was just jam packed full of value. So if you got any value out of this at all, I'd love if you could screenshot this and put it on your Instagram feed and tag your best friend, someone that's interested in business. That's the best way that we can get more listeners and more watchers on this show. And if you could, please leave us a rating, a 5-star rating, and a nice written review if this has given you any value at all. I know this episode of all of them has to have brought you guys some value, and I just hope we can connect soon. Keep striking.